But just to give a little bit of a personal introduction, my name again is Elise Lee. I'm with a company called Pula Advisors. As was introduced, we are a proud member of the Lemonade Crypto Climate Coalition, which is aiming to use blockchain to help vulnerable communities against climate change. And so as a company, we are working in the agricultural insurance space, largely in a very similar way as Acre Africa. I haven't personally come across Acre Africa because I am part of the Asia-facing team at Pula. And so I joined the Pula team about 15 months ago to do the business development outside of Africa. And to date, we've had some success in a number of countries. And so, yeah, I mean, I can talk to you about that as well. But today I just wanted to really focus on the smallholder farmer and just really just kind of, give a context of what is the problem we are collectively trying to solve. And so I came into this space a little bit differently, and I didn't really know, what the audience is going to look like. And so I was born in South Korea, in Seoul, but at a very young age, my dad's job sent us to the US. That's why I sound like the way that I do. I spent about 14 years in the US in my formative years. And then after graduating from university, I was predominantly in the development sector. So working in the philanthropic sector, working in largely foundations, private foundations, corporate foundations, and the like, to basically do sort of channeling of philanthropic and donor funds into the NGO sector. And after 15 years of doing that, I really thought, okay, it's time to go into the private sector because there's only so much you can do with donor money. To get to scalable, sustainable solutions, I mean, you really can't do that on a purely philanthropic basis. And so, while I was thinking, okay, what can I do? What should I? Then I was contacted on LinkedIn by a headhunter sitting somewhere in the UK, asking me if I wanted to join a company that's based out of Kenya. And so here I am today. And so that's, I think, yeah, and now, I mean, I currently am based in Rotterdam. I'm married to a Dutchman, and I dragged him back to his mother country after living 15 years in Asia. And, all day I'm just on Zoom talking to Pakistan, Nepal, Sri Lanka, and then you sprinkle in a couple of calls with my colleagues in the head office or some of the other ones in satellite offices. But the overall problem that we're trying to solve is, one of, this lack of penetration of agricultural insurance into the smallholder segment. And so, how many of you have any, are farmers, let's say? Anybody does farming on the side? I don't. So, okay, one person. Yeah, I thought maybe you might be. Yes. And so if I ask this question in Nepal, actually even our national operations manager, he recently admitted to me that he himself is also a paddy farmer. And so then the distribution of farmer to non-farmer ratio is different depending on context. But I myself am also not a farmer. And I was looking for a video that might give you a pictorial image of, what it's like to be a farmer, a smallholder farmer today. So the good people at Bayer Science has put together this two-minute introduction to smallholder farming.
Smallholder farming is anything but small. It's the basis of life for millions of farmers around the world. Every single day, smallholders like Ruth put all their dedication, their passion, and loads of work into a small but precious piece of farmland. Thanks to their efforts, a growing world population can be fed each day. Something to be truly proud of. But often, smallholders have to face major challenges that make it difficult to grow the quantity and quality of crops they need to care for their families.
Kama mimi mkulima mdogo, niko na changamoto nyingi. Hata mbegu sipati mbegu ile nzuri natakikana. Nikanunua mbegu kwa majirani wangu.
Challenge na nga hong kahumayan ang madaot sa piste o sa usob-usob nga panahon tungod sa climate change. Mga ang sani puling.
वहाँ बहुत बड़ा चीटिंग है, फ्रॉड लोग बैठे हुए हैं, चीटर लोग किसानों से बहुत चीटिंग करते हैं। अपना बेच के माल जो है 20 रुपए में 15 रुपए किसानों को पकड़ा देते हैं। यहाँ ये समस्या है, ये गंभीर समस्या है हमारे मंडी की।
Papu, Ruth and Henry imagine a world where they're able to unlock their full farming potential so they can get the most out of their farmland and lead a better life.
From the good people at Bayer. But 84% of the world's 570 million farmers are smallholder farmers. And the definition of a smallholder farmer is a farmer who is plotting on less than 2 hectares of land. And so for those of you who don't know what a hectare is, like I didn't before I joined Pula, it's a 100 meters by 100 meters box is basically 1 hectare. And so if it's 2 hectares or below, then you're considered a smallholder farmer. And smallholder farmers as a collective entity produce 35% of the world's food source. And so another sort of a fact point I'd like to share is that, as we have heard from some of the other speakers, is that smallholder farmers are some of the poorest people on the planet. And tragically and somewhat ironically, they're also one of the most vulnerable to food security. So you would think that if you're actually involved in food production, then you would have better access to food. But actually, paradoxically, they are more likely to go hungry than other segments of society. And also, as we have heard from the other speakers, the smallholder farmer segment, as a collective, are also more vulnerable to climate change and are the most exposed to disaster risk. And so we see, rises in average temperatures. That has an impact on increased water stress. Many of the most vulnerable farming communities are still rain-fed farming rather than irrigation farming. And so that results in reduced yields and reduced food security as well as reduced incomes for those farming families. And so already poor households are disproportionately affected by extreme weather events such as typhoons or hurricanes, floods, as well as droughts. And this also, we're hearing this a number of times, but the insurance penetration is extremely low outside of Asia and India. In terms of the agricultural insurance penetration. And so I shared the QR code for a recent GIZ report, which basically is a very comprehensive report on what is going on in the agricultural insurance space. And so I invite those of you that are interested in this topic to read that. It's an excellent report and where this infographic has been pulled. But some of the benefits or the role of insurance, and they mentioned 5. So the first is basically to be able to give protection against risks that would otherwise that farmers would otherwise not be able to cope with. And so this is a risk transfer, a financial tool to do risk transfer. But In the absence of that tool, I mean, farmers have many different kinds of coping strategies. However, these coping strategies actually are more expensive if you actually do a dollar-to-dollar comparison. So using a vehicle like insurance can be a more cost-effective way to manage that risk, rather than to do diversification of crops or do pooling, of different resources within the community, so forth, which is done in the absence of insurance. When the insurance is properly designed, it can also act as a vehicle to substitute for collateral to enable the unlocking of credit and unlocking and increasing the access to finance to be able to buy better inputs such as seed or fertilizer or any other inputs to be able to have a more productive situation. It can also allow not only the farmers, but other stakeholders to take on additional risks, to be able to invest into smallholder farming, to adopt new technologies, to improve farming practices, and then also have more systemic increases in productivity. And then, of course, there's also the advantage of, the timely access to cash compensation as opposed to sort of, more traditional methods. And so, all of these things together, I think, we're in a room, we're preaching to the converted, so to speak. And so we all understand, what is the role that insurance can play. And certainly Pula Advisors, has been a leading company in basically bringing, insurance into the hands of the smallholder market. And now we're looking to see how we can include the element of blockchain into that process. Thank you.